porque mi vida yo la aprendí a vivir así.
So then, this is Cannes, a smart little seaside town in the south of France, which for 2 weeks every year goes quietly mad. The cause of this madness is, of course, the International Film Festival, the apparent centre of which is the Palais du Festival, or as it's known, not very affectionately to its habitués, the Bunker. But in fact, much of the festival actually takes place here on the Boulevard de la Croisette. Every available inch of space is plastered with movie posters, promoting everything from masterpieces to the most god-awful schlock. Because it's not just art we're talking here, it's money too. The art, where it exists, may be found in the Bunker. The money is discussed in the hotels along the boulevard, where you need a second mortgage to pay for your room, and where the movers and shakers of the industry do their deals and try to get the numbers right. And it's this behind-the-scenes aspect of Cannes that I hope to bring you tonight. The business of Cannes is business. Nothing wrong with that. No industry can survive without profit, nor could the Cannes Festival survive without the deal makers. The competition is the jam on the bread, but the bread and the butter are supplied by the buyers and sellers of films who set up their stalls wherever they can find a table, like here on the Carlton Terrace. But different deal makers do business in different ways. The British company, Palace Pictures, for instance, flew out Lenny to put on a cabaret to sell his performance movie to continental buyers who couldn't understand a word of the film.
I come from Dudley in the West Midlands. The Dudley posse here. Can I have a lift? It's called the Black Country. I think it's called that because so many West Indian people settled there in the 50s. They saw the sign when they came in on the bus, "Welcome to the Black Country," and said, "But stop, the Queen has put aside some land for me already. Unpack the dominoes." Because Dudley's so close to Birmingham, people are always getting the accents mixed up, especially Cockneys. Sort of same, innit? Dudley Birmingham, sort of bleeding same, innit? You're taught the same in chat. Dudley Birmingham, Wolverhampton, Stourbridge, you're taught the bleeding same in chat. Well, we don't all talk the bloody same, actually. There's a distinct difference. For instance, in Birmingham, they say, all right, I'm going. In Dudley, they say, can I come too?
Lenny has this great advantage in that he can come to Cannes and actually show people what he does, and an ordinary actor can't. An ordinary actor can come down and do promotion, do interviews, do PR, but the only place that a distributor can see that, you know, actor or actress do their thing is in the film. With Lenny, you know, we can actually invite people out for an evening in a club or in a hall, and Lenny can show them just a sample of what he can do.
I don't think the emphasis is on flogging the film, although I suppose that is what Palace have in mind. I think it's more of a, I think it's a general vibe thing, you know. They want it to be, by having me do a performance, they just want to be, oh, well, we're being a bit groovy kind of thing. I don't know, I don't know what to think. Been trying to write jokes about Cannes for the last 3 days.
The major problem will be that there are certain countries where they don't subtitle, that don't have big English-speaking population. And will therefore have to dub the movie. And of course that's always the biggest problem. But they do successfully dub people like Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. So it can be done, but it will take some convincing, and it's also of course very expensive, and they'll have to find a local star or actor to do Lenny's voice.
My beloved children, let me hear you say yeah. Yeah. I said everybody in the room say yeah. Yeah. My name is the Reverend Dental Virtue. And I want to welcome you to the Reverend Dental Virtue, holier than thou, there but for the grace of God, go I, Pentecostal Church and theme park. My children, last night I had a dream. I dreamt I was on a long flight and the plane was going to crash. And the man next to me started to weep and wail. He looked at me and said, "You're a preacher, do something religious." So I took a collection. It's nice to be here in Cannes, promoting my film. It's very nice. My film's called Lenny Henry Live and Unleashed, and because there's no starlets, no beautiful actresses in the film, just me, I've been down on the beach posing topless all day. It's been exhausting. My nipples have been staying erect by sheer willpower alone. Buzzing. Go on, Len, bit more chest, thank you. Bit more pouting, Len. And it's great to see all the guys doing business there, you know. Everybody's working in the sunshine. It's hell out here. It really is hell. You can imagine the guys on the phone to the wives. Darling, I'm so busy here. Look, I won't be able to come back for another week at least. Yes, I love you too. Then 4 o'clock in the morning outside the Petty Carlton. I don't care if you are a transvestite. We'll talk about it in the morning. Yes, you know who you are. I went to the British Pavilion, and it's cool in the British Pavilion, except we've got no British films in the competition, which is a bit weird. It's like giving condoms to a eunuch and saying, go ahead, have a good time. Who wants to be in the bloody competition anyway? That's what I say, right, lads? It's hipper to be out of the competition, that's what I say. Yeah. Don't have to be beautiful to tell me, just need your body, baby, from dusk till dawn. Extra time when you're kiss. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the Star Wars.
So what did the potential buyers make of all that?
No, for Germany it would be difficult, you know, because the people don't understand the humor there. It's difficult to translate that, and it's you have to hear it original, and people don't understand that much English in Germany.
I've seen the show. I like him very much. I think he's very funny.
Well, to tell you the truth, he's no Eddie Murphy.
Nick, how do you think it all went tonight? But of course the important thing is how the foreign buyers reacted.
Well, that was the most encouraging thing, because first of all, we did have them all here, which was terrific. And secondly, they obviously not every single one of them, but most of them really seemed to get the same buzz out of it as English people do. That was really encouraging. I think that we're not going to have any difficulty exporting, if you like, or getting Lenny to people around the world.
The real test of the show's success came the next day when Nick Powell had a meeting with an Australian distributor, Frank Cox.
Yeah, well, that's my only problem with the film, is that so far, you know, stand-up comedy has not really gone into any sort of breakthrough situation. It was very much preaching to the fans, and I can mention Richard Pryor live in concert, or Eddie Murphy live, or whatever.
So did you distribute Richard Pryor live?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, the first one.
Right.
Columbia did the second, and they didn't do much better.
Yeah.
But video-wise, you know, it was
It worked.
it was a success. So I think the idea with this would be, you know, to buy it extremely cheap.
I was wondering when you were going to get around to that.
Buy it extremely cheap, bring him out, spend all the money in marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So you hope to break even theatrically,
Right.
and then both parties, you know, participate on the video.
I'm sure that we'll get to a deal. It's just a matter of whether he's going to come up with enough money to make it worth our while to do it. And that, you know, he is going to launch it properly, and we'll commit to doing that. And from what he's saying and what he said off camera, I think we got him.
And they had. The deal was concluded at the end of the festival. This is where you come to find out what's going on in Cannes. We'll just cast an eye over this lot. Discarded publicity bump about half a Brazilian rainforest. But in among the rubbish, there are the party invitations. They have loads of parties in Cannes, wall-to-wall parties. You can measure your status here by the number of parties you're invited to, or if you're particularly arrogant, the number of parties you decline to attend. But these parties are not just simple social events. They're a vital part of the business of Cannes. Because what you discover, once the food has been eaten and the drink has been drunk, is that somebody always has something to sell, something he wants you to plug. In Cannes, there's no such thing as a free party. This one, for instance, is a particularly lavish affair at the hugely expensive Hotel du Cap. A film company is entertaining its international distributors, about 200 of them. A very nice gesture too. But later on, when everyone is deeply under the influence of dinner, the bottom line will be a strong exhortation to buy more, sell more, and do even better in future. The film company, the film company, yes, that's the rank organisation. They would have been cross if I'd forgotten to tell you that. Now this, I would say, is not a bad party. Rod Steiger, Anthony Hopkins, pretty good company to be in. No catch here then, surely? Well, yes, there is. Anthony Hopkins, you see, is about to direct his first picture for the Film Foundation of Wales. And I think he'd be most awfully obliged if I mentioned the fact. Now this, as you can see, is a posh affair, a sit-down knife and fork dinner in a restaurant in the Old Port. The thing is, though, it's one of 4 parties that I've been invited to tonight. Have I picked the right one? Well, there's only one way to find out. Go in and see. This place I'm going to may not look like a haven of comparative peace and quiet, but that's what it is. It's a pub called Le Petit Carlton, and it was seized upon initially by the Brits as a refuge, somewhere they could escape to in the small hours of the morning and get away from all those people trying to sell them something. Of course, it's a bit of a culture shock having to pay for your own drinks, but it's worth it, or at least it was until the salesmen, the producers, distributors, exhibitors discovered the place too. If I stand here long enough, somebody is bound to buttonhole me and start telling me about this marvellous film he's got. So that's why I'm going in there for one quick one, and then I'm off to bed. Honest. In Cannes, there's no such thing as a free drink, even if you buy it yourself. You know, one of the most important elements of the festival is the press, the reptiles. I mean, what's the point of all this going on if the world doesn't know about it? But have you ever wondered when you read a story in your daily newspaper how it actually got there in the first place? Have you thought about the hustle and bustle and the keen-edge rivalry that impel the dedicated British journalist as he scurries around Cannes, always with a keen eye on the opposition, to be the first to bring you the news, however trivial?
The competition between Fleet Street newspapers is still quite merciless. And, you know, really here, it's like warfare. And you simply have to go with it. I mean, if you can't take it, you'd better not come here, because I notice, you know, new young journalists coming here from Fleet Street for the first time end up after 2 or 3 days with something like a nervous breakdown. You know, they start to twitch and feel paranoid that because their phone hasn't rung, their rivals may be getting a wonderful story somewhere.
So we wouldn't let on to each other that we were desperate. I certainly wouldn't let on that I were desperate. If I thought Baz had a really good story, I would try at least to pretend that I had a better one.
I make the others feel anxious. That's the point. That's the secret, is to make them worry and don't worry yourself.
Well, this year, the focus of all this press competition was Meryl Streep, easily the biggest star in town. Her film, A Cry in the Dark, needed help, as they say. It needed her presence here to arouse a little bit of public interest. But Miss Streep doesn't talk to everybody. Indeed, she hardly ever seems to talk to anybody. Before she even arrived, she stipulated that she would attend one press conference and give personal interviews only to selected journalists. The 3 British writers accorded this rare privilege were Victor Davis of the Mail on Sunday, a freelance working for the Daily Mail, and Derek Malcolm of The Guardian. And this is how they were chosen.
On the day that Meryl did her first set of interviews, she specifically said she would not touch any tabloid newspapers. So on the first day that we did interviews with Meryl, I then knew that she wouldn't do anything like the Daily Mirror or the Sun or the Star, or even today, she only would touch the Mail, which is the only tabloid paper that she considers to be suitable.
Now, all this really got up the nose of Hilary Bonner of the Daily Mirror, for she had been scooped by her arch-rival, Victor Davis. Or had she?
I was set upon by Hilary, who came up to me rather angrily and started pushing me and saying that she felt that I had not been fair.
It did create difficulties because, obviously, she was giving a very limited number of interviews. And naturally the people who didn't get them thought they should have done. However, in this case, some of the people who did get the interviews weren't very happy either.
I'd kept it very quiet that I was seeing her, but the freelance found out that I'd got her. Now, it was late Friday afternoon, and in an enormous panic, he went rushing back to his room, wrote it, and managed to get it into the Saturday morning's Daily Mail. which of course is not as heavily read as the weekday editions of the paper. So in one sense, he rather lost a lot of readers. But of course, being the day before I could have got it in the Mail on Sunday, I really had to have it pulled from the paper.
Well, there was a little bit of a muddle at the weekend, in my opinion, which rather left the Daily Mirror open to run my feature, 2 days later than it may have done otherwise. As an interview was given to the Mail on Sunday and to the Mail, and it's fairly elementary that they're more or less going to cancel each other out, and that is exactly what happened.
So when the dust had settled, what did it all amount to? An article in the Daily Mail, another in the Guardian, nothing at all in the Mail on Sunday, and Hilary Bonner's story in the Mirror. But of course we know that Hilary Bonner didn't have an interview with Meryl Streep. So how did she manage to put her piece together?
Madame?
Miss Streep, Hilary Bonner from the Daily Mirror in London. Good morning.
Morning.
You also have 3 children. Could I ask you, how would you feel? How do you think you would cope if you were forced by circumstances apparently beyond your control, like Lindy, to be away from them?
Like now, you mean?
Well,
no, I mean...
for a long period of time. I mean, I know you
I
take
went to the jail up in the Northern Territory, which is very bleak, cinder block, nothing, in the middle of a plain, and I thought about her giving birth there and giving up a baby and then living there for
And that's how it's done.
years.
Hilary Bonner got her interview with Meryl Streep in the presence of some 400 other journalists. What's more, she could even claim, she told me. And now we come to what you might call the underbelly of the festival, the artistic fringe where exploitation companies set out their stalls to sell films with titles like Lobster Man from Mars and Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator, sex and violence, science fiction, camp comedy, shock horror, and all made on very low budgets. God only knows which cinemas show these things, but they're not a joke, they're very big business. And the leader of the fringe independents is a company called Troma, which in the past has brought you such classics as Surf Nazis Must Die and Fat Guy Goes Nutsoid.
Take Troma's War, because I think, just take this and read it. Yes, okay. Hey, Barry, how you, ¿cómo se va, mon ami? Please, he had an appointment, so can you just go in the private room over there, and they will take care of you. And we have the Italian availability just next door, thank you. So, how you been?
I'm fine.
Good, now look, that's Toxic Avenger Part 2.
Don't worry, sir. I'm the Toxic Avenger.
In my opinion, he's probably the most attractive, hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength that I know. And you know, Barry, what's interesting is that one of the reasons that the Toxic Avenger has been successful enough to create 3 movies, women like the Toxic Avenger.
Women do, yeah.
He's got a beautiful body. He's very nice to his mother. He takes care of his blind girlfriend. He cleans up crime. He's against toxic chemical waste, and he is ridding the world of these massive corporations that seem to be controlling our lives.
Well, where do you sell all this stuff? I mean, is it shown in cinemas or?
In the United States, we play the same theaters. The Troma movies, such as Fortress of America, the movie that we premiered today, as you know. Yeah. They will play the same theaters as do MGM movies or Paramount movies. They will not play at Christmas time. They will not play during the peak summer playing time. But they will play the same, basically the same runs. In other parts of the world, we have theatrical distributors, and depending on the strength of our theatrical distributor, we will play in the cinemas. Japan, Germany, Great Britain, France, are pretty good theatrical areas for Troma movies.
What is Troma's aim? What does it want to do? What's its raison d'etre?
Well, Barry, the purpose of Troma is peace through, world peace rather, not just any peace, but world peace through celluloid. Every country that has bought a Troma movie has not been to war. Now let me give you an example. Iran and Iraq, they did not buy Troma movies, they had war. And that's basically our goal. England has bought Troma movies, no war, you haven't had war, right?
You're
France,
right, you're
France,
right.
No war. Yeah. Canada, Australia.
I can't think why I haven't thought of this before. But
so
yeah,
we are hoping to continue the good work we've been doing, and I would not be surprised if Troma were accorded a Nobel Peace Prize. What do you say, Barry?
I can't think of any organisation that deserves it more. Now look, tell me something about some of these films that are going to keep countries at peace.
Well,
the ones you got on that reel.
That is the promo reel for the Toxic Avenger Part 3.
Right.
And in this one, he sells his soul to the devil. It's sort of a combination of Faust and Midsummer's Night Dream, and probably the most cerebral of the toxic cycle. On Rabbit Grannies, you deal with a couple of grandmothers. There they are.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
They are transformed. So when they have you can see when they have their family over to eat, they certainly eat.
They do. Yeah, they do.
They love their grandchildren. Well done.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that'll go down very well, I would think, with the older generations.
Yes, in fact, the Rabbit Grannies, I think, will open Troma's reputation up to people maybe over the 60s. I think we'll get a lot of senior citizens will enjoy Rabbit Grannies, as will the grandchildren. So I think that's pretty good.
Rabbit Grannies from Troma.
I can't believe it!
You know what? Neither can I. The real reason for a film festival is to extend the tourist season. The excuse for a festival, the only earnest and solemn feature of it, is the competition, in which here 22 international films vie for various prizes. This year, as usual, 2 or 3 of those films in competition are the work of first-time directors, who, to their utter bewilderment, find themselves feted and lionized as if they were Fellini or Bergman. Well, one of those first-time directors is an American 26-year-old Steven Soderbergh, who's made a fine and much-admired film called Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
It's up to you. Can I tell you something personally?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta go first.
Okay. I think that sex is overrated. I think that people place far too much importance on it. And I think that stuff about women want it just as bad as men is crap. I mean, I think that women want it, I just don't think that they want it for the same reason that men think they do. And I'm getting confused. Do you understand what
I remember reading somewhere that men learn to love the person that they're attracted to, and that women become more and more attracted to the person that they love.
God, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I like that.
I'm just quoting.
When is this? What am I supposed to do?
Aren't you looking for a room to move into?
Oh, for...
Soderbergh's long day of receiving homage began with preparations for a press conference.
Speak to Virgin. When I talked to Mike once, he didn't seem to think there was a problem. But okay, good.
All right. Okay.
Thank
I'll see you down here in 10 minutes.
Even for an unknown, there's no such thing as too much media attention in Cannes. Already, 2 camera crews were following him around.
So, is there like a moderator or?
Yes, Henri Bayard, who is.
Oh yeah, I talked to him.
Henri?
Yes.
Okay. He translates the questions because some of them will be in French, obviously,
Right.
and then they're American journalists. He translates and he'll direct the questions.
Great.
To if they're addressed to Laura or to the director or to one of the producers, and then you just answer and, the best you can. And it's the main thing about this part. It's kind of crazy because lots of paparazzi will be snapping your picture and camera because
How many people? Do you think?
I think the room holds a couple hundred.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of crazy, but it's you just kind of relax and go with it, and that's the best thing you can do.
Oh no, I don't have my little Palais daily thing.
It's okay. Stick with us.
Okay.
Stick in a group.
I know that they're real sticklers about that.
But try not to say like, oh, I've got to go to the bathroom now and run off away from us, because then it would be hard to get back together. So,
okay.
So an emergency situation.
If you have to go, grab one of us to go with you, so we can.
Or if you want to duck out of this press conference,
Right.
that's the way to do it.
Worried though he may have been about toilet facilities and a potential grilling from the press, he seemed enviably relaxed.
So you want to make movies and part of it. Anybody wants a drink? champagne or anything? No?
You don't feel the need for any of that?
No champagne. Some water. I mean, they haven't. I'm afraid they have only. It's just champagne.
Yeah.
Well,
this is France.
Yeah, white plight, isn't it?
It's Mr. Soderbergh, it's pronounced Soderbergh.
Soderbergh, yeah.
Yeah, fine.
You made of it so far? I mean, has it surprised you, overwhelmed you?
It's not overwhelming, you know. Part of my larger personality problems have to do with feeling a distance from things and people, and it's been very nice, but at the same time I feel somewhat removed by it, and it seems much more exciting happening to somebody else. You know, I imagine that, you know, Jim Jarmusch is having a much better time than I am, and that it's much more fun to be him. Not that I'm not having a good time, but I don't know how to explain it. It always looks better over there.
But Steven Soderbergh, too, appeared to be having a good time later on at the special dinner before the gala premiere of his film.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. This is the last hurdle. If we can get through this screening, then we're finished.
Well, there are the critics, of course. I mean, their reviews, and that will probably come a little bit later.
Yeah. No, if we can get through tonight and have a good screening, I'll be real happy.
Meanwhile, outside the Palais, the crowd was waiting for the young director and his cast to arrive.
Look at that, people. I like the intense look of disappointment that you get as soon as they actually get a good view inside the window.
And find out who you are.
and find out who I'm not. Yeah.
Well, ain't you a picture?
Do you like it?
It's lovely. Is it for me?
Yeah, it's for you.
Is that for me?
But for Steven Soderbergh, the result of all that was what? Fame or a return to anonymity? Well, 10 days later, at the final awards ceremony, this is what happened.
Sexe, live, vidéothèque, sexe, mensonge et vidéo. Et Steven Soderbergh revient sur scène pour la deuxième fois.
With his first film, Steven Soderbergh had won the biggest prize Cannes can offer, the Palme d'Or.